Hyperliquid remains one of the highest conviction plays that I can personally recommend for 2025. If there is one chain that I believe you are still very early on that has incredible potential to outperform the market, it's going to be Hyperliquid. And at the moment, everything in the Hyperliquid chain, from Hype to Per, the meme coin, H fund, farm, is in an amazing spot. And right now, you have a very unique opportunity because everything from Hyperliquid, which is sitting at $6 billion worth of market cap at the moment, to Per, the meme coin, which is only 100 million market cap, and even down to farm.fun, which is only 35 million market cap, which is down from 39 million just, a couple of hours ago. Your opportunity is that for the first time, Hyperliquid is going through a retracement. And if you were involved in Hyperliquid in the early days, you would have known that this chain, like across the board, moved like 20x over the course of just a couple of weeks. Now, just to give you an idea of how strong Hyperliquid is at the moment, out of the 170,000 followers that it has, more than 1,000 of those is part of what we would like to call the smart money. Now, I know this is not your typical, hedge fund investor or whatever, but these are all some of the biggest players in the entire crypto Twitter space. You have Saka, you have Ansem, and well, the list goes on and on and on. But the point is, look at the smart mentions over the course of the last month. It's only been increasing over time. And in terms of the momentum score, this is quite literally top 4 out of 25,000 tokens that this smart money tracker is, tracking. The point I'm trying to make here is that Hyperliquid is quite possibly the biggest airdrop in the history of crypto, with billions of dollars worth of hype airdropped to its early users. The thing about these airdropped tokens is that they tend to die off really quickly because the people that are involved in the project in its early days are not involved for the tech or for the utility. They're just there to farm an airdrop, and then once that airdrop is dropped, they get out. Hyperliquid is unique in the fact that everyone's staying around because the product is genuinely amazing to use. If anything, this token has only been growing ever since the token got airdropped, which is, again, incredibly rare in the world of crypto. So this, at the moment, has unicorn potential, and currently, based on the reports that I've read on Hyperliquid, and I personally believe this as well, and it's why I'm allocating a large chunk of my portfolio into the Hyperliquid ecosystem, this has the potential to be Solana. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was once upon a time when Solana was under, $5 billion worth of market cap as well. In fact, there was once upon a time when Solana was under 1 billion. But it only really started to take off once it hit that, velocity point of like 5 bill to 10 bill. From that point onwards, Solana went all the way up to $200 billion worth of market cap, especially during the last bull run. Now, take a look at how much Hyperliquid is at the moment. $7 billion. And Hyperliquid, you are still very much early to this project. Why? Because a lot of the utility within this project is not even launched yet. This is, again, brand new. This ecosystem is really officially just a little over a month old. For example, on Solana, there is a very clear use case on holding Solana, namely in the sense of trading meme coins. Chances are you're using the native token Solana to buy that meme coin. This is something that Hyperliquid has yet to implement, but they will implement it in due time. Right now, if you want to buy a meme coin like Per on Hyperliquid, you can currently only use USDC. So the main, just a low-hanging fruit utility for Hyperliquid has not even yet launched, just because this is so new. So all in all, what I'm trying to say is that this is one of the highest conviction plays that I have for 2025, especially during this bull run. This has the real potential to become, if not a Solana, at least an AVAX type play. And if Hyperliquid, the main token of this chain, which is sitting only at $7 billion worth of market cap, can 5 to 10x from this point, which will only put it at around $50 to $70 billion worth of market cap, guess what's going to happen to all of the meme coins and the other smaller beta plays within the ecosystem? They're going to pump insanely much as well. And so in this video, I'm just going to go through some of my top picks for Hyperliquid, and I'm going to discuss my entries on these coins because I don't want you guys to miss out on this. This is just something that's going to be huge. And if you have the opportunity to catch a Solana back when it was $5 billion worth of market cap, I don't know about you, but I'm going to take that. So taking a look at Hyperliquid just on the main coin, currently, again, we have a unique opportunity in the sense that it's been consolidating for the better part of the last month. Starting 14th of December, it has been just forming a really tight range here. Now, the beautiful thing about this setup is that this is currently a value area deviation. Value area meaning the majority of the trading volume. If we just eyeball it for a moment, you can see that there are certain blocks where a lot of, up and down trading volume has been concentrated at, right over here. And a boom price leaves the value area to form a new value area. And currently, this is the biggest value area with the most amount of volume transacted, as well as the longest time spent in the value area. Now, this is important to know because from what we understand about volume profiling, any deviations above the value area high represents a premium opportunity, which means that if you're looking to short the coin, anything above the value area would be a great place to do it. But if you're looking to buy, then you want to look for areas, or rather deviations, below the value area low, because this represents a really great discount opportunity for you to get into the coin. So now that you understand that, guess what's happening right now? That's right, you're getting a deviation below the lows. And so to determine if there are any levels worth looking at, I'm just going to start off on the daily chart to see if there is any, zoomed out levels that I might be missing out here. But I would say that the main level that we're going to start looking at Hyperliquid at the moment is around $19. Now, there is a reason though why I have drawn out a couple of boxes on the 4-hourly chart. It's because, again, if we just take a look at how price likes to move, you form value areas, you expand out of the value area, and the price always, tries to find another area of fair value. This is just how markets work. It's how market participants, how sellers are always trying to sell at a good price and buyers are trying to buy at a good price. And when both of these parties are working on accomplishing their own objectives over a period of time, this is what you get, a value area. This is essentially just an area that sellers agree is a good place to sell, and this is an area that buyers agree that is a good place to buy. This is just the definition of a value area. The point being is that this is an area where once price returns back to, is going to have quite a bit of interest from both buyers and sellers. TLDR, I do believe that once price gets back into the $19 range, this is a daily fair value gap, which leads right into a 4-hourly value area. And so this becomes your first level of, quote unquote support. So anywhere between $19 to $18 is going to be my first zone for buying into Hyperliquid. The that works, or rather the mindset that works during a bull market, is that as long as the coin has mindshare and attention, and as long as price action is still within an uptrend, which on the daily chart, if you take a look, it very clearly is still in an uptrend. If anything, like let's say the move starts from here, this is your swing. Until this all-time low gets taken out, until a lower high is put into place and price starts breaking and turns into a lower low, until this happens, like price is very much still in an uptrend. And as long as price is still in an uptrend, we buy high and we sell higher. So even for me, I'm going to look to add to my Hyperliquid stack on $18 to $19. Now ideally, you would want to return all the way back to this value area that you can see on the daily chart. Now this value area here is only present, or rather it's only visible on the 4-hourly chart, but this one is visible on the daily chart. And if we zoom in a little bit more onto the 4-hourly, you can see just how much more volume is concentrated around this area. Now, is it likely that Hyperliquid is going to return all the way down here to $14 basically? Probably not, but if it does, set a couple of limits at 14, 13, it's not going to be a horrible place to buy. Now just note that there is also a very real possibility that if price returns back to like $18, sweep underneath this liquidity level here before price reverses in a V-shaped recovery. But either way, this is one of those long-term holds that I expect to have a minimum target of 5 to 10x. And this is on the largest token in the ecosystem. And this is without talking about any of the other tokens yet. Taking a look now at Per, this is quite literally the OG meme coin on Hyperliquid. I believe this is the first meme coin on the chain, in fact. And so we all know how this goes. The first mover advantage in crypto is a very real thing. And as long as something has, considering that this coin has it, it will be in our best interests not to sleep on it. So let me just turn this line into white and boom. So what I'm marking out here is just a couple of levels of like just key support areas that I would personally look at, or rather just on the chart. These are like the most significant areas where prices historically bounced from or had some kind of reaction. After that, we're going to like further, investigate this, or rather just try to find different confluences to add to this. But for now, 0.2, 0.16, as well as 0.105 is on the chart, right? These are significant levels where price has historically found support at. And it's a good starting point to go off of. Not to saying that this is the be all end all and we're done with analysis just by identifying support levels. This is not how it works. Now we got to add some confluences to this. So for example, over here, we can see that we have some kind of a value area. So there's a lot of volume concentrated within this area. Price tried to break above it, failed, deviated below it, and then eventually, like after doing this for a couple of times, price eventually broke out. Now, the way that we use value areas, again, this is not just saying that once price returns into the value area, this is going to be the place to buy and boom. That's not how value areas work. Remember, deviations below the value area and deviations above the value area, that's your premium discount. So ideally, we want to look for a sweep underneath the value area, which will put us right into the support zone. So rather than just using this block here, we're expecting a tap of the value area low at 0.2. More importantly, there are a couple of swing lows here that have yet to be tapped. And another one just happens to line up. Over here, you have relatively equal lows. And for those of you who are familiar with smart money trading, you know that relatively equal lows is one of the highest forms of liquidity pools that are present in the market. And this will represent a very, very solid level where per could potentially find a bottom. And at that point, right, that'll be about 1.6. That will be a 30% drop from where price currently is, which will put the market cap sub 100 million / very close to 100 mil if price were to return back to here. And one thing that is really good to understand when it comes to meme coins is that psychological levels is a very real thing in meme coins, especially just because of how little price action and how little establishment these meme coins have, and how these meme coins are driven purely on narrative and attention and sentiment. Psychological levels work wonders. That's why you always see price stop at, $10 million worth of market cap. It might stop at like 9.7 and then it will go for a 50% retracement before eventually blowing right past that $10 million mark. This happens on many meme coins. Same thing happens at 100 million. You don't go right to 100 mil. You might stop at 95, you might stop at 97, but expect these psychological levels to play a very significant role, well, just price action for meme coins. So right there would be my two main levels, right? 0.2 as well as 0.16 are just going to be great levels to get into this coin, especially considering the fact that the all-time high for per is at 0.7, and a retracement all the way back down to 0.16 would quite literally be an 80% retracement, which is something we want to look for when it comes to meme coins and altcoins in general. The bigger the retracement means that just by, again, as long as the trend remains, as long as we have a bull run still intact, as long as Hyperliquid grows, which it should, or at least the probabilities are telling us that Hyperliquid is going to continue to grow, as long as it does, this means that eventually the previous all-time high is going to be recovered. It's not like we're currently in a bear market right now and this coin is just going to fade into obscurity. Price is most likely going to make a new high. And even without accounting for the fact that price is eventually going to make a new high, just by recovering the previous all-time high means that at your entry of, let's say, 0.2, that's going to be at least 3.5x if it just gets back to the previous all-time high. And this is why these dip buying frameworks, and this is why we want to look for 50 to 80% retracements at a minimum during a crypto bull run to get into, well, to buy a dip essentially. And by the way, I don't exactly have price predictions for per. I do think that at its highest peak, it was sitting at around $400 million worth of market cap. And if Hyperliquid continues to grow the way that it does, I do fully expect per to hit $1 to $2 billion worth of market cap, but I don't think the potential for per is much higher than that. This is, of course, using Popcat as a measuring stick, because Popcat at its peak hit $2 billion worth of market cap. And Popcat is quite literally the biggest cat coin in all of crypto, and it's part of a chain much bigger than Hyperliquid, which is Solana. Now granted, you might argue that on the Solana chain you have much more competition in terms of cat coins, but even at its peak, right, the largest cap token hit $2 billion worth of market cap. So if Hyperliquid continues to grow as it does, given the fact that, at its peak, again, $400 million worth of market cap, at its peak, Hype was sitting at, let's take a look here, about $12 billion worth of market cap. So that's about a 1 to 30, valuation difference. Right now it's sitting more like 1 to 50, but at its peak, that was 1 to 30 in terms of, difference in market cap. So assuming, a peak valuation difference of let's say 1 to 25, let's use peak valuation comparisons. That's 1 to 30, for example. This puts per at a theoretical, very hypothetical maximum of $2 billion of market cap, which would put this at about 20x if you were to get into the level that I've just recommended. Again, these are just blind predictions. This is not based off of anything. I do believe that Hyperliquid can hit $50 billion worth market cap compared to Solana, compared to past performance of Solana. But again, past performance does not guarantee future results. And this is just a very simplistic prediction of how far this can go. The point is though, I do expect that the previous all-time high, or at least a 3 to 5x out of this entry right here, because price is going to make a new high. That's guaranteed. Absolutely high this is going to go, I have no idea, but previous all-time high, that's going to give us a 3.5x. If it goes a little bit above, that's going to give you a 5x, which in my book is a perfect type of play that I would always take. Now the last coin that we're going to talk about, just so we don't make this video overly long, is going to be Hyperfun. Now this coin is the pump fund equivalent of Hyperliquid. Now on Solana, you know that there is this coin called Pump Fund, or rather this project called Pump Fund. where all of the meme coins in Solana that are being launched is launched through Pump Fund. This is the equivalent of that on the Hyperliquid ecosystem, which also makes this my most bullish play if you were looking to get exposure to the Hyperliquid ecosystem without wanting to buy into a token that is multi-billion dollars worth of market cap. This would be my #1 pick because there is real utility behind this. It is only sitting at the same amount of market cap compared to the meme coin. Most importantly, again, most of the meme coins on Hyperliquid are going to be launched through H Fund. And we have seen so far, right, living proof on Solana, on the Solana ecosystem, how well the Pump Fund product or other project has done. So if there is a real world where I can pretty much say with the highest probability that something's going to hit, a 10 to 20x, this is going to be the highest probability one. And what's interesting to note is that I actually called to buy H Fund on the Alpha Group, which at the time was sitting at $65 million worth of market cap. So in less than a couple of weeks, that play actually did a quick 5x. And I believe this is only going to continue to be one of the strongest tokens on Hyperliquid. And by the way, Hyperliquid was also called in my Discord at around $10 billion worth of market cap, as well as Farm.Fun at 19.5. All of these plays were called really early and in real time to members in the Alpha Group. If you have been struggling to find coins early before they explode and you would like some help on that, consider clicking the first link in the description box below because the Alpha Group might be relevant to you. Now, coming back onto H Fund, the price action, as you can see, is a lot less clear in the sense that the value area that we can clearly identify on the chart is, well, actually where price currently is. Considering that this might be the value area that we are looking at, this was the deviation. Again, this is just an eyeball. Like, I'm just looking at where the majority of the trading volume is concentrated at, and it tends to be around this area. Now, you can even refine it down there. And right now, price has currently failed to accept back into the value area and is currently breaking lower. Now, this is not necessarily a bad sign though, because if we were to draw a fib from this low to this high, where price began its most explosive move, you can see that currently, for the first time, we are actually consolidating around the midpoint, right? This is equilibrium, which is not a great place to enter into because this right here, equilibrium, is not considered a discount, but it's not considered a premium either. It's quite literally a no man's land where you don't want to be, where ideally you don't want to be taking any trades. Ideally, you want to be taking them within a discount zone, and that discount zone is going to come right at around the 0.618 to the 0.786. So if I were to just draw this box out, this is also lining up with a daily fair value gap. You can see that there is, like, in terms of the daily, from here to here, there's no body, right? This is an imbalance right here, which is draw this out fully. This is the zone that we're looking at. Of course, we're going to zoom in onto a lower time frame to further refine this area down because I'm sure there are going to be, just more. And in fact, and even when we refine this down into the 4-hourly chart, you can see that, again, this is as clear of an imbalance that you can possibly get in all of crypto. Price essentially was moving still at a decent pace, at a reasonable pace, until we hit this point where all the hype picked up for H Fund, which is also around the time where I would have called this play. Yep, right here at around 12th of December. And price just took off. And when price returns back into this area, just understand that there are going to be a lot of open orders over here if they were not filled yet. And price is just going to fill it in at this fair value gap. And eventually it's going to just give you a strong bounce or a slow bounce. But the primary thing we want to look for to really confirm an uptrend is that we want to see price break back into the value area, right? This will be known as acceptance. Price will fill up all the fair value gaps here. In my opinion, the key levels that you're going to want to look for is right here at $140 and here at 110. Now, the reason why I'm using both of these levels is first, when it comes to fair value gaps, the entrance of the fair value gap is going to be your value area #1, and the midpoint of the fair value gap is oftentimes a hidden, bottom signal marker, whatever. Like, a lot of bottoms tend to come at the 0.5 lines of fair value gaps, just like they do on a lot of bottoms tend to come at the 0.5 lines of fair value gaps. This is unbeknownst to most retail traders because they don't know about fair value gaps, and even some of the smart money traders don't really know about the 0.5 line of the fair value gap either. Like, equilibrium is a really powerful concept in all of trading. It's why it works on volume profiling. It's also why it works on order blocks and, every other thing in trading. Equilibriums are powerful. So when you get to the 0.5 line, that's very likely going to be a good area to buy into H Fund. And so, yeah, chances are you're not going to get a $65 million entry, just like what we got in the Alpha Group. If price returns, if price happens to return, then the perfect level, right, Again, not saying that this is going to 100% hit. If anything, it's very unlikely to hit this level. But if price returns to $60, this is going to be a superb area to get into hype fund. Between 60 to 55. If you get that, you're going to be very close to the bottom. Ideally, you don't want to see that though, because that's going to mean like a huge discount within this trading range here. Ideally, you want to see some kind of a strong bounce from the 0.618 or the 0.705, which is going to be these two levels right here, which would be my ideal levels if I can recommend a level. So the play is, this is, by the way, you're going, like, if you do buy in here, expect to be in the red for quite some time. This is going to be the higher probability entry if you do get it. Lower probability of this hitting though, but higher probability if you do get it. The play would be to, now if you're not comfortable with setting limits, which is completely understandable, look for a break above, like break into this value area right here, starting from $150 to $193, but mainly $150. Once you break above 150, coming down to flip it into future support, that's going to be your entry right here, and your stop loss is just going to be right underneath this level, because ideally if you accept back into the value area, you don't want to see it break underneath the value area again. So this is going to be your play, and price is just going to continue shooting up from there. My price prediction for this is going to be an easy 10x. I would expect this to also sit at around $1.5 to $2 billion. And depending on where you get in, that's going to be an easy 10 to 20x. Now guys, if you've watched until this point so far, I'm going to be hosting a free masterclass in a week's time. And this is not going to be one of those quote unquote webinars where I'm just spending half the time trying to sell you something and remaining half the time giving you really basic information. If you like the way that I go really in depth in my YouTube videos, I'm going to give you way more value in that masterclass to set you up for 2025. Inside, you're going to get my exact highest potential coins that I believe is going to do the best in 2025, so that you don't have to spend time buying into coins that are just not going to do anything. You're going to get my exact entry model as well as exit signals that I'm looking for to determine when the top of the bull run might be in. And most importantly, I'm going to share with you the biggest lessons that I've had to learn the hard way through multiple bull runs so that you don't make the same mistakes. And all you have to do is sign up using the second link in the description box below and secure your spot, and you're going to be in. Last time we held one of these, we hit the limit on the amount of participants that could be on Zoom. So just try to sign up before we fill up, because we did set a 500 sign up limit to prevent the same issue as last time from happening. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want more videos giving you exact entries and analyses. But until then, I'm going to see you in the next one. Bye bye.